Good morning everyone from a very rainy Masjid al-Aqsa. It's been raining most of the night. It's raining today, and just visiting various parts of the compound. And we've got here different mihrabs or prayer niches. There's 4 actually within the precinct, and there's various places of study and various wells, also many wells. But today I'm just going to show you this. Just over there we have a prayer niche which is dedicated to the Prophet David, Dawood alayhi salam. And we know Dawood alayhi salam was somebody who was given great blessings by God, great miracles. He was given a clarity in his voice. He was given a beautiful voice. He had the birds and the mountains chirping whilst he sang read the Zabur, the Psalms of David. He was able to make metal soft in his hand like wax and fashion things out of it. And through that, people come to this prayer niche, which is located there just in remembrance. And of course it's not the original one, but they go there to seek blessings and prayers and fulfillment of needs. And that's just one niche within the area, but let's move on and see some other parts. The southern wall is at the southern end of the al-Aqsa Mosque, or the Temple Mount. It was part of the Herodian expansion of the platform, which occurred about 2,000 years ago. And the southern wall is made up of the same retaining blocks which are found on the western wall, which are large ashlar blocks which are unmortared. Significant structures are found along the southern wall, including the Qibli Musalla, which is also known as the Al-Aqsa Mosque. And this is where the confusion comes, as the modern definition of Al-Aqsa says that it is the whole Herodian platform which was expanded from the original Temple of Solomon. But a lot of people, including in Israel and the Jews, hold that the Aqsa Mosque is only this building which is found on the southern wall. We also have the Ophel, which looks towards the Solomon's stables and the southern wall. The Ophel is part of the eastern hill that sits between the city of David and the Temple Mount. It literally means a swell or rise, and refers to a higher part of the landscape. The original inhabitants of Jerusalem, the Jebusites, built their citadel there, and when David conquered it, he added more fortifications to this part of the city. Along this wall, on the inner part, on the actual platform, we have the original location where Umar, when he came to Jerusalem at the behest of the patriarch, he formed a mosque, a location to pray, a prayer niche, and it became known as the Mosque of Omar, which was a wooden structure originally, a small wooden structure along the southern wall. We also have on the bottom part, on the outside, as you walk around the eastern wall and turn right onto the southern wall, the remains of the Umayyad Palaces. They are obviously the seat of the Umayyad Caliph whenever he visited Jerusalem. And they constructed during the reign of al-Walid in 705-715 Common Era, and is similar to other fortified Umayyad palaces you'd find on the fringe of the desert in Transjordan and Syria. The southern fortification is a tower which was built by the Fatimids, and inside it you will find the library of al-Khatuniyya, which was probably established by Sultan Salahuddin al-Ayyubi. There is also an interesting rock on the southern wall, because as we know, there was a destruction which occurred of the second temple, and many rocks you'll find were reused, many stones were reused. On one particular rock we have Hadrian's inscription. The upside down inscription is from the Roman statue of Emperor Antonius Pius 138-161 CE. That the Bordeaux pilgrim recorded seeing when he was on the Temple Mount in 333 CE. The statue was destroyed by the Byzantine Christians after 333 CE, the Jews in 614 CE. This reused block is the only part found so far of the 2 statues, one of Hadrian and one of Antonius Pius. We have here the most significant part of the southern wall, which a lot of people can see, and it's quite visible. The Hulda Gates, named after a prophetess found within the Bible. Two sets of now blocked gates in the southern wall. The western set is a double arched, and the eastern is a triple arched gate. Other than two Hulda gates, there's another Crusader era gate, which is known as Bab al-Mufrid, or the individual gate, which is also blocked. The double western Hulda gates form the basement of Masjid al-Aqsa, known as al-Aqsa al-Qadimi. The triple eastern gates form part of the Marwani prayer area, or Masjid al-Marwani, which of course was excavated and cleared, and the Jerusalem, or the sifting project, which ensued after that, all of the debris which were cleared, you find a little hill formed on near the eastern side of the Al-Aqsa compound. It is a lot of the waste which came from there, and that is where the sifting project began. And apparently a lot of first era, temple era items were found in that particular the rubble and the debris. We also have the single gate, as I say, which was mentioned, which was cut by the Knights Templar so they could enter into the basement where they would tie their horses. And that was then blocked up, and it was repaired by the Mamluks. And you could see that on the southern end of the 6th row of pillars from the east, and the triple gate is at the south end of the 12th row. We also have the library, the Al-Aqsa Mosque Library, which was originally built by the Crusaders as an annex building, and later it was converted to a small prayer area after Salahuddin. It was called the White Mosque due to the color of the stone used, and was majorly used by the women. The women's mosque is divided into 3 sections, and on the left-hand side, or on the western side, you will find the Islamic Museum, and in the center, where the main library is located. You also have right on the far corner near the western wall the Al-Fakhariya minaret, which is located on the southwest corner. It is was built under the supervision of Sharif ad-Din Abdul Rahman on the orders of the Mamluk Sultan Lajin, and was named after Fakhr ad-Din al-Khalili, the father of the building supervisor. It is built in traditional Syrian style, 23 meters high, and stands without any foundations. Another part of this southern wall, which was a very interesting discovery, if you look at the original pictures of Al-Aqsa Mosque, or the Temple Mount, you will see it's full of, next to the Hulda gates, it's all earth. But an enormous flight of steps was found, 210 feet wide. They were a combination of smooth stone slabs and carved bedrock, and they alternate in their size, 35-inch to 12-inch, for the first and the last 3 steps, which are all 12 inches. The stairs led the pilgrims to the southern temple gates, which led to the underground tunnels, eventually emerging on the surface of the Temple Mount. Because we call the area underneath the Solomon Stables, or the Marwani area, as something built by the Umayyads, but according to archaeological evidence, they were probably built by Herod, because they were seen as entry and exit points of the Temple Mount. And the royal stoa, which was described as a jungle of, or a forest of pillars by Josephus, was directly where the Al-Aqsa Mosque is, or the Masjid Qibli is, and it stretched all the way across the southern wall. And people would go underneath. They would go up this from the pilgrimage route, which would begin from the Pool of Siloam, go up the pilgrim's route, and they would go up the southern steps and enter through the Hulda gates, and go up and emerge and find this huge platform, and emerge just with the royal stoa behind them. So we're in another section now of the lower parts of Al-Aqsa. So above us is at the bigger mosque, which we've been, the highly decorated mosque, but this is all below. And again, the Muslims have managed to maintain hold of this, and apparently this was built during the time of the Umayyads. So very old, been around for a very long time, and built again with a great deal of precision. And we were above the mosque earlier, where the area where apparently when Umar came to Jerusalem, and he was summoned by the Patriarch of Jerusalem and was asked, after the siege, to give the city to the leader of the Muslims, and it was given to Umar. And then Ka'b al-Akhbar was approached, a newly converted Jew, about where to have a musalla, a place dedicated to prayer and worship. And he said that pray behind the rock of the dome of the rock, and Umar rejected this based on potential that it's no longer our Qibla and you still have some Jewish tendencies. And then it was decided that the furthest, right at the front of the Haram or the precinct, is where the Musalla would be, and that was above, and that's the location they've shown, but it's actually, well, because of the layers of building work that has occurred, it's actually further up. So let's listen in to these guys and see what they're saying. It's going to show some huge rocks. Now look at the size of these rocks.
On both sides. So yeah, we know that Sulaiman alayhi salam did a lot of work here. However, there is no proof or evidence to show that this dates back to that period. Okay, so remember, our religion isn't one of just hearsay. We have a very strong, robust religion. We shouldn't just believe anything. Okay, everything is backed up, everything is authenticated, everything is researched. So it's important everything is researched thoroughly, and we just don't go by emotions. Yeah, it's very nice to believe that. Okay, wow, for years we were like al-Mustawaj, meaning the double gate. One, and if you come onto this side, you will see the same thing on this side. Come through.
So there's 15 gates to the Masjid al-Aqsa, and three or a number of them have been closed.
Can you see?
Yeah. And here's another
so
gate.
This is
there's a pillar.
The double gate, one there, one there. So it's one gate with two entrances, Bab al-Mustawaj. So how many sealed gates have we seen so far? 5. No, don't count the single gates. These two are one. The triple gate is one. The singular gate is one. We've seen 3. So these are the 3 that we have seen on the southern wall of Masjid al-Aqsa. We still need to see the ones on the eastern wall, inshallah. That's for another time, another day. So these are the sealed gates. Why are they sealed?
Let's listen into.
Why these gates? Why the gates on the eastern and the southern wall, and why not the western and the northern?
Because of the Muslim population of that quarter.
Besides that.
Now we are underneath here now in a subterranean section, but it's not really subterranean, because when al-Aqsa was the original al-Aqsa was much lower, and this is one level below, and then of course there's probably another level below this, and it's typical of the city. And look at the size of those stones. Who built it? Some say the jinn, but human beings are capable of amazing things, as you can see with the pyramids.
Also, the outer wall of the old city as well. Part of the outer wall, not only. Okay? So these are outer walls. So the eastern wall is an outer wall. Southern wall is an outer wall. Whereas where we coming from, that's an inner wall. Where we ate outside, that's also an inner wall. So there's no threat of an outer enemy coming from out of the city. This is out of the city, this is out of the city. That's what he did. This was a strategic move where he decided to seal off the gates that are out of the outer wall.
A lot of these gates were sealed as strategic moves, as the gentleman is saying, to protect the city from attack, and especially the Crusaders.
I've explained to you this is most likely from the Roman period. These huge stones.
These huge stones.
They are from and before Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
So these are prior to Islam. These stones are almost 2,000 years old. Amazing, amazing architecture.
Also, why we can tell this is Umayyad is because of this. Now the Umayyads, they were very rich, and you could call them the dynasty, the Marwanis. They were like the kings over here. So outside here, okay, this is a library, and then outside, no, it's a library now, it wasn't before. But if you go outside this wall, you've got palaces, the Marwani palaces. So Umayyads, how many years back are we going? 1300 years ago, the Marwanis who were the rulers at the time. Yeah, they had their palaces outside. They were the Marwani palaces. So what is this? Why they built this in this way? This is known as the royal passage. The royal passage. Royal passage for who? The Marwanis.
It sounds like similar to what the Mughals built, like the elephant walkway at the Badshahi Mosque.
When you look out of the window from the Musalla upstairs and you look down, you will see the ruins of the Marwani palaces. Okay, 1300 years old they are. And at the moment, Muslims can't really make use of it. They've occupied that and they're using it for their own forest reasons. So they would come out of the palace, come through here, they would go up from here, and then go and pray upstairs, and then come back. This was the royal passage used. But originally, this would have been a part of Masjid al-Aqsa, okay? Because this is the original kind of ground level, the bottom of the mountain this is. And the Umayyads built all of this, so that on top of this they could build. I'm going to show you one more thing just in that room. This is more recent, just to strengthen the structure. So I'll show you something in here.
Pillars, isn't it? Pillars. So we can find out exactly where.
Lovely musty smell in here, a bit of damp and
There are many, many wells. Well, we've seen some of these wells, but there are two wells which are known as wells for olive oil. And there's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ where the Prophet ﷺ said, regarding Masjid al-Aqsa, somebody asked, and the Prophet ﷺ said, go to Masjid al-Aqsa and pray Salah in Masjid al-Aqsa. Because whoever prays Salah in Masjid al-Aqsa, you get the reward of 1,000 Salah. That's the hadith that mentions 1,000. And then he said, if somebody can't go to Masjid al-Aqsa, okay, it's not like, oh, if you can't go, it's okay. No. Even then, you should do something for it. Okay? And he said that person should gift oil to be used and burned in the lamps of Masjid al-Aqsa. And that's why there was a practice. One of the wives of the Prophet ﷺ, every Right, they're going to close this, so let's quickly go in. This stuff I can talk to you about outside, but we need to see a few things inside first, inshallah. So as we're walking, I'll speak once we're walking, move quickly. Salahuddin Ayyubi Rahmatullah, what he did as a strategic move, he closed some of the gates of Masjid al-Aqsa. Masjid al-Aqsa had 15 gates altogether. 15 gates at the moment, only 10 of them are open, 5 of them have been sealed and closed by Salahuddin Ayyubi Rahmatullah. The ones that have been closed and sealed, they are on the southern wall and the eastern wall.
also have the cradle of Jesus, which we will be looking at, which is a stone alcove in the floor in the southeastern corner of the court at the entrance to Solomon's stables. And the name Jesus' cradle indicates that this was considered holy by the Christians, and there might have even been a church here. And we know that the Masjid Qibli, or the al-Aqsa Mosque, was originally a Byzantine church. You could see the way the architecture is, and it was converted to a mosque, similarly like the Umayyad Mosque, which you find the Grand Umayyad Mosque in Damascus. That was a Byzantine church or a basilica of sorts. The architecture is very similar, and then it was converted.
The room that they say was the room and the mihrab of Maryam. Was it exactly here or not? Allah knows best, but we know this is a reference point. This has always been referred to as the room of Maryam. So this is where we will stick with, inshallah. So the Quran says, كُلَّمَا دَخَلَ عَلَيْهَا زَكَرِيَّا الْمِحْرَابَ وَجَدَ عِنْدَهَا رِزْقًا. Every time Zakaria alayhi salam would enter the chamber, the sanctuary, the mihrab of Maryam, he would find provisions. And the scholars say that these were fruits, non-seasonal. So grapes, for example, for us now, we see fruits, every fruit all throughout the year. That's why we're so unhealthy. Even eating fruits is unhealthy for us now. Because it's not the right thing to eat. You're supposed to eat the thing that's in season. But he went in there and saw grapes in summer. It's impossible anywhere in the world to find grapes in summer in those days. You couldn't find it. They didn't have genetically modified food. You didn't have refrigerators that you could, freeze things. So for him to go in there and see grapes in summer, that was, wow, like an impossible thing became possible. And Quran says, Kullama, every time, whenever he would come, that would be the case. He said, Maryam, anna laki hada. Maryam, where do you get this from? And she said, this comes from Allah. In Allah yarzuqu man yasha'u bi ghayri hisab. Allah gives to whoever He wants without any limit. This is the point where Zakaria alayhi salam, Quran says, هُنَالِكَ دَعَا زَكَرِيَّا رَبَّهُ. It was in this place, because of this incident, Zakaria alayhi salam raised his hands. And he said, what did he say? قَالَ رَبِّ هَبْ لِي مِن لَدُنْكَ ذُرِّيَّةً طَيِّبَةً إِنَّكَ سَمِيعُ الدُّعَاء. Oh Allah, if you can give Maryam something that's impossible, I'm almost 100 years old. My wife Risha, she's almost 80, 90. And not only was she 80, 90, so one is old age. You can't have children in old age. But when she was young, she never had a menstrual cycle.
So we've just left the place where it's reported that Maryam or Mary was born, and the story of Zachariah and the story of Yahya, which we featured in the Islamic tradition. We've just passed that, and this whole area used to actually be quite derelict until the 90s. For 800 years it's apparently been just derelict, left to rubble and left to be damp. Not converted it, but restored it, and the restoration is still continuing, and alhamdulillah it's looking really good. And it's a huge expansive space. It's almost the same size as the mosque above, because right above you have the mosque. And initially this was all sort of built by, some of the stone is much older. If you look at some of this stone, it's extremely old. And then above it you have newer building, and this is the case with Jerusalem. It's built upon layers and layers and layers, and this particular layer here, which you can see above me, is a layer which was built by the Ottomans to fortify the platform above, which of course is a raised platform. And we know that this whole area is built on a mount, and it's become very flat now, and it's very level because these underground foundations were strengthened and built, and continuously so many people came and they built and straightened it. So let's move on from here.